There is a question that has followed this sculpture for 500 years. Not about the marble, not about the technique, about something simpler and more unsettling. Whether what you are looking at is real. Pliny the Elder, writing in the 1st century AD, called it a work superior to any painting, any bronze, any other statue in existence. He said 3 Greek sculptors from Rhodes made it. He described exactly where it stood, in the palace of Emperor Titus in Rome. Then it disappeared. For 1400 years, no one saw it. On January 14th, 1506, workers digging in a vineyard on the Esquiline Hill struck something in the earth. What came out of the ground that morning has been argued about ever since. This is the Laocoön, and the argument is not over. The sculpture stands just over 2 meters tall. It is white marble. It sits today in the octagonal court of the Vatican Museums, where it has been displayed almost without interruption since 1506. 3 figures, a man and 2 boys. The man is massive, his torso twisted, his muscles pulled to their limit. 2 enormous serpents coil around all 3 bodies. One serpent bites into the man's hip as he twists. The man's face does not look like stone. It looks like someone mid-scream, the moment before the sound leaves the body. His left arm fights the serpent. His right arm reaches back. But the right arm you are looking at is not the original. It was not there when the sculpture came out of the ground. And the arm that replaced it, the one that stood on this statue for 425 years, was wrong. Start with the bodies, because that is where every conversation about this sculpture begins. The 3 figures are not posed. They are caught, each one at a different stage of losing. The younger son on the left appears to still have a chance. The serpent has not fully taken him. The older son on the right is already resigned, his face turning away from what is happening to his father. And the father, Laocoön himself, is still fighting, still pulling. The muscles along his abdomen contract against the coil. The veins in his forearm do not look carved. They look pressurized. What the sculptors did was technically prohibited by the material. Marble does not bend. Marble does not twist. Marble does not strain. And yet every figure in this group appears to be doing all 3 simultaneously, from a single block. Pliny wrote that it was carved from one piece. Modern analysis has shown it is several fitted together with extraordinary precision. That single detail, a claim made in the 1st century that turned out to be technically incorrect, is the first thing in this sculpture's history that does not add up. Francesco da San Gallo was a child on January 14th, 1506. He was present at the excavation with his father, the architect Giuliano da San Gallo, who had been sent by Pope Julius II to inspect the find. 60 years later, Francesco wrote an account of that morning. He described his father arriving at the vineyard, looking down into the hole, and saying immediately, "This is the Laocoön that Pliny mentions." The identification took seconds. The Pope acquired the sculpture within 10 weeks. By August of that year, it was on public display in the Vatican. What had been underground for 14 centuries became, within months, the most discussed artwork in Europe. Michelangelo was among the first to see it. He said nothing publicly about what he thought. What he did next was more interesting. The sculpture came out of the ground missing its right arm, and that absence set off one of the strangest disputes in art history. Pope Julius II's architect, Donato Bramante, organized an informal competition among the sculptors of Rome. The question was simple: how was the arm originally positioned? No one knew. The arm was gone. All they had was the shoulder socket and whatever the rest of the body suggested. Raphael believed the arm extended outward, a reaching gesture, a plea to the gods. Michelangelo disagreed. He said the arm bent backward over the shoulder, the movement of a man trying to rip a serpent off his own back. Raphael's interpretation won. A version of the outstretched arm, sculpted by Giovanni Montorsoli, was attached to the statue in 1532. It stayed there for 425 years. In 1906, a Jewish archaeologist and art dealer named Ludwig Pollack was walking through Rome near the Esquiline Hill, the same hill where the Laocoön had been found 4 centuries earlier. In a stonemason's yard, among a pile of marble fragments, he noticed a bent arm. The style matched. The marble matched. He brought it to the Vatican. The Vatican thanked him and put it in storage. It sat there for 51 years. In 1957, a Vatican curator re-examined Pollack's arm. When restorer Filippo Maggi held it against the sculpture's shoulder socket, a drill hole on one piece aligned perfectly with the corresponding hole on the other. The arm fit. Michelangelo had been right. The Montorsoli arm, the outstretched one, the one that had defined how the world understood this sculpture for over 4 centuries, was removed. The bent arm was attached. What changed was not a detail. The entire posture of the figure shifted. Laocoön, with an outstretched arm, is appealing to something outside himself, reaching toward the gods, toward rescue, toward an answer. Laocoön, with the bent arm, is doing something different. He is fighting the serpent with his own body, alone, without appeal. The meaning of the sculpture reversed. Ludwig Pollack never saw it corrected. He was deported to Auschwitz in 1943 and killed. The man who found the arm that proved Michelangelo right did not live to see Michelangelo proven right. Here is where this sculpture splits into 2 completely different objects. The first reading is ancient. Laocoön was a Trojan priest who warned his people not to accept the wooden horse the Greeks had left outside the city gates. The gods who favored Greece sent the serpents to silence him. He was killed for telling the truth. His sons died with him. Troy fell, and the man who tried to prevent it was punished for being right. In this reading, the sculpture is a monument to a specific kind of suffering. The suffering of someone who saw what was coming, said it clearly, and was destroyed for it. Not for being wrong, for being right too early. But there is a second reading, and it does not come from mythology. It comes from the sculpture's own history. Art historian Lynn Catterson, writing in 2005, argued that the Laocoön is not a work of antiquity at all. She proposed that Michelangelo carved it himself before the excavation, and arranged its discovery to establish a precedent for ancient sculpture that would justify and elevate his own work. The evidence she cites: Michelangelo's presence at the excavation, his unusual silence about his own opinion of the work, his insistence on the bent arm position, and the fact that when he later painted the Last Judgment in the Sistine Chapel, he depicted Christ with his arm in exactly the position he had argued for in the Laocoön, bent back over the shoulder. If the first reading is correct, you are looking at a 2,000-year-old monument to a man who died for the truth. If the second is correct, you are looking at the greatest art forgery in history, made by the most celebrated artist of the Renaissance, planted in Roman soil, and excavated in front of witnesses he had arranged to be there. The Laocoön has been in the Vatican for over 500 years. It came out of the ground missing an arm. The arm was found 4 centuries later. The man who found it was killed before anyone believed him. The sculpture that Pliny called superior to all other art still does not have a confirmed origin, a confirmed date, or a confirmed maker. It has a drill hole that fits perfectly, and everything else is still open. Drop your reading in the comments. I read everyone.